Thank you for the introduction. Oh wow, this is loud. Okay. Very happy to be here, and I'm a little bit it feels a little bit like I'm the oddball out. But I'll try to use the time that I have to try to show you the relevance, I think, of models in trying to understand natural behavior, complex behavior, naturalistic behavior. And the way I'll approach it is actually the way I approach this, that is through vision. So essentially when I started out as a vision scientist. I wanted to understand, how does this seeing work? What's the difference between looking and seeing, and how does that work? And I end up now worrying about complex behavior, like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and pouring yourself a cup of Coke. So what's the connection? I hope I can clarify this or give you a sense of how these things all tie together. And what I'll be using as a tool is essentially theory. Because in theory it's incredibly evident that certain things that we are very familiar with, which is separating, say, perception from action, is something that you can do only in the most special cases at all. All right. So the approach to vision science, right, if you are a student, is, well, you learn vision science through experiments. Now, the great thing about experiments is that experiments have their particular ways of probing systems. And the beautiful thing about that, in turn, is it's essentially all theory-driven, although it may not show. So these are stimuli that have been used for many decades in vision science to probe the visual system. And they're completely based on linear systems theory, because you know that the eigenfunctions of the convolution operator are the sinusoids. And so you think, well, I can characterize a system, a linear system, by probing it, showing the response to these very particular, very strange, very complex, in a way, stimuli, because these are stimuli that we know a lot about in theory. So we tend to think by today, oh, these are very simple stimuli, but actually they're not simple. There's a huge theory behind it that is pretty complex in a way, that has led vision scientists to look at things like, what's the modulation transfer function of the visual system, right? At what contrast does a human subject resolve a spatial pattern into sinusoids, and when do they not